to have a look at who exactly Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matangi is, and here we're calling him Mr. Fix-It because Monday's appointment of Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matangi to take charge on the delivery of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda has sent tongues wagging on what exactly could have informed the decision. Now, for some, it could be a political statement, but to others, it was a genuine move to entrust his legacy projects to a man known to deliver. Our reporter Duncan Haimba takes a look at the Matiangi's scorecard.
The Inspector General, the PS, and myself have been under pressure by some quangles and all manner of spiffs that we should import police uniform. Listen to me very carefully. We will not import police uniform. Go and write another 10 headlines. We will not import police uniform from any country.
A no-nonsense, abrasive, unpredictable, hands-on man, or is he just arrogant?
I want to assure you, we are determined to rid our country of this nonsense once and for all.
Dr. Fred Okengo Matiangi, a former university lecturer who was appointed to the cabinet in 2013 by President Uhuru Kenyatta, has ruthlessly effected radical changes in nearly all the ministries he has served, except the Ministry of Lands, where he acted briefly after then CS Charity Ngilu stepped down. In all his ministerial tours of duty, Matiangi has established himself as the president's man who gets it done when the president wants it done. In 2015, he stood his ground and ensured all television stations switched from analog to digital broadcasting amid resistance from media owners. When he was moved to the Ministry of Education, he overhauled the entire examination results regime by disbanding then Kenya National Examination Council.
The time is here now for serious and deep reforms to be carried out in NEC so that it can be an organization fit for purpose and one that delivers the services that the people of Kenya expect of it.
And that was just the beginning. In 2016, he broke the country's tradition in the release of national exams. KCPE results were released nearly a month earlier, a move that caught the country and education stakeholders by surprise.
I would like that every parent goes to Christmas this year knowing where their children are going to go and knowing what is going to happen. So letters for Form 1 admission will be available and will be given before Christmas.
He also left a mark by ordering that all school buses be painted yellow. While in his current posting, the Interior CS pulled a second one on the media by ordering the shutdown of 4 television stations for several days as they beamed live Raila Odinga's mock swearing in as People's President on January 30th, 2018. The apex of the swearing-in drama being the forceful deportation of the self-proclaimed NRM General Miguna when he effected executive orders which the court later nullified.
The declaration dated 6 February 2018 issued by Fred Matiangi is hereby declared null and void and of no legal effect.
In a bid to reduce road carnage, the fiery CS reintroduced the famous Michuki rules amid resistance from PSV operators, but again, his word was final.
So those who are saying, oh, we are withdrawing transport, so we can negotiate, they can keep their vehicles at home as long as they please. We are not changing. The laws have been there and they are existing. There is nothing we have invented.
It is such instances that perhaps won him the president's trust, now mandated to supervise and coordinate the delivery of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. Matiangi's name will no doubt feature in the legacy that President Uhuru Kenyatta is out to build. Duncan Haimba, KTN News.
Mr. Manyasi, I'm sure you've watched and heard the story by my colleague Duncan Haimba. But my question is, why Matiangi? Why not any other cabinet secretary?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So if you look at the different times that Matiangi has served in different ministries, He's one Kenyan, let me start from calling him a Kenyan. He's one Kenyan who understands the issues and the problems that Kenyans go through. For other ministers, you will find that someone will get into office and take a year before they settle down to even understand what the ministry is about. Matiang'i gets to office, he hits the ground running, and that makes him a very possible ear catcher of the president, because at the end of the day, you do not want someone whom you will give a job, then they'll take a year to settle down and you have 4 years to go. So by virtue of the fact that Matiang'i understands this country, leave alone even the ministry he's posted in, to just understand the basics, and they're not complex. Sometimes I keep wondering why it takes so long for someone to even understand land problems, or understand transport problems, or understand any issue that is around police. We know. So Matiang'i will get the docket, hit the ground running, and get results going. It's not about the complex things that people think about. It's just the simple things that Kenyans are going through. Now, having said that, you look at now the difference between what Matiang'i has been given in terms of mandate and what the DP has been doing, is that the big problem that we have had, and everybody knows, is not in launching projects, development projects. The big problem is that it's not about cutting ribbons. It's about value for money. What kind of projects have we been launching?
So are you trying to say that some of the projects the Deputy President William Ruto has been launching, it's not been value for money?
You see, it's common knowledge that in this country we have been launching, and there are many questions. I don't even have to mention the different projects. There are many questions around whether the government has made right decisions in terms of the projects that it has been launching. That's a fact. There has been a lot of questions around value for money. And that is why Matiang'i's responsibility, one of it will be looking at the prudence of the projects that we're investing money in. And that's why he's being deputized by the CS in charge of Treasury, and not the other way around. Because you see, you'll have expected the Treasury CS probably to head this, but it's Matiang'i heading it, because it's about the personality, and therefore ensuring that what we are doing in this country is actually something that benefits Kenyans.
So where does it leave the Deputy President William Ruto? It's a question that asked you, when we began this conversation, because it looks like Matiang'i's appointment might undermine the DP's position within the Jubilee administration.
In my view, Matiang'i will still do the work that he's been given. The Deputy President still has the responsibility, and can, if he wants, to actually go out there, and if there are projects that have been looked at, Matiang'i has thought through, has sat with his colleagues, and he thinks those are the right things that we should be doing, then the Deputy President has the leeway and the liberty to actually go ahead and flag them. But having said that, I guess the difference here and the departure is that we will not be having projects run by government which are dubious. And Matiang'i was reflecting on, for example, the police uniform. You see, someone will have easily said, we have imported uniforms, now we are thinking about importing buses from South Africa to run on our roads. But the thing is, why should we be doing Project X using imports or bringing in Chinese when we have Kenyans who can actually do that job? So those are the critical questions that will be asked as Matiang'i takes up this responsibility.
So what message is the President Uhuru Kenyatta sending to his deputy? Because we've also seen, political leaders allied to the Deputy President raising eyebrows over Matiang'i's appointment, and they want the President to come out clear and just tell the country, I've appointed Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i to oversee these projects, but this will not affect my deputy's mandate within the Jubilee administration. So what message is the President passing over to his deputy?
I think if it goes that direction, we'll be missing the point. All Kenyans, I think all of us who have been in this country for some time, should actually be supporting Matiang'i to make sure that this works. Many attempts, like I said, have been made to just look at how we can have prudence in terms of expenditure of public money. So whether politics or not, I think if I was the advisor to the DP, I would actually advise him to focus on things that are more political than economic, so that you are looking at how to strengthen himself politically and take advantage of the work that Matiang'i will be doing. Because at the end of the day, there's no work that Matiang'i will do that will be outside of the presidency And in this case, when you talk about the presidency, we're talking about President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy. So if he can find space within that success, if it works, then that will work him to his advantage than trying to say that he's being cut to size by appointing Matangi to run that docket.
But as much as you're saying that the deputy president should be focusing on matters politics and leave matters development agenda to Matangi, the president has also been very clear, you know, like you should not be focusing about 2022. We'll still have a long way to go. And the reason as to why I'd asked you what message the president is sending to his deputy, it's because ever since, you know, the handshake between Raila Odinga of ODM, Honorable Raila Odinga of ODM party and President Uhuru Kenyatta, there has not been that political romance that the president and his deputy had before.
And probably that's where the mistake was, because at the end of the day, in as much as the DP has an eye on 2022, which has been made very clear by Jubilee, it has been made very clear by himself, and it was made clear then by the president, I'm not sure about now, is that 2022 and Jubilee were going to run by William Ruto. But you see, at the end of the day, what will William Ruto tell Kenyans if Jubilee will have failed? I mean, that's the basic question that the DP should ask himself. So in my view, even his handlers and his supporters should be happy that anything that is done that is going to work will only work in strengthening Jubilee at the end of the day, so that one, the president has a legacy to go home with, and two, the DP has something to tell Kenyans about what Jubilee will have done for this country.
So the appointment of Matangi will not contribute to the downfall of Jubilee Party?
If they are bright, and I repeat that, if they are bright enough, they should support that to make sure that it actually works. Because at the end of the day, how will they convince Kenyans that they ran 10 years and developed this country, and therefore they need an extra 10 years? How do you explain that to Kenyans when everything is dubious, for instance?
All right.
You can't have a situation where you're launching projects that don't exist, projects that will pay for, and there's no value for money, and then expect 10 years down the line to come back and say that I served Kenyans and therefore I deserve to be given an extra 10 years.
All right, let's talk about the Deputy President William Ruto's meeting with President Uhuru Kenyatta yesterday in Mombasa. Because it was a closed-door meeting, and what they discussed has been safely guarded.
I think one of the things that the president might have done is to actually brief the DP on what the functions of Matangi will be. And in my view...
Does it mean that the deputy president didn't know that the president was going to appoint Matangi?
Most likely not. And I guess we have seen some of this. In the recent past, they have not been meeting as regularly as they used to. And understandably so, because there's also one Raila Odinga who is also in the mix. And therefore, the president probably is trying to balance between constant consultation and making decisions. Because at the end of the day, he also needs to have some space where he can make decisions without. Because you see, at the end of the day, what if he consults the DP and the DP says no? So the president probably is trying to take responsibility for the position and offices he's been given to ensure that he can have a leeway of making decisions so that he can brief his deputy on the decisions that he has made, other than consulting on the decision that he needs to make.
All right. Thank you so much, Alex Menyasi, a governance and political expert, just talking to us about that appointment of Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matangi and what it